Our telephones represent the most common and efficient means of communication with the outside world, but they can also become a source of great disturbance when the calls we receive don't appear to come through normal channels. I'm not necessarily limiting those to telemarketers or political activists or kids on the other end wanting to know if Amanda Hugginkiss is there. Many people have shared stories of being contacted from the afterlife or by interdimensional beings, accompanied by caller IDs that make little to no sense. So it begs two questions. Are telecommunications being appropriated by something otherworldly? And to what end? This next story will send shivers to anyone who's been on the receiving end of one of these unnerving calls, because they are extremely strange. In 1993, Gary Sudbrink was a captain in the United States Air Force and a pharmacist stationed in San Antonio, Texas. He had planned an unannounced surprise visit to his parents, who lived back in Long Island, New York. Although Gary took great care to tell no one of his plans, including friends he also wanted to surprise, it would soon become apparent that someone else knew exactly what Gary Sudbrink was up to. And the results were nothing short of startling. While Gary waited in Texas to board his flight, a man holding a clipboard approached him and asked his name and how it was spelled. He asked where Gary was heading to and some other personal information. Gary chose to ignore the man and headed toward the departure gate, thinking perhaps he was trying to sell him something. Once on the plane, another individual sat down in the seat next to him and began to ask him many of the same questions the previous man had. Gary politely but firmly asked the man to leave him alone, until a flight attendant intervened and asked to see the man's ticket. She then told him he was in the wrong seat and had to move. But he soon reappeared directly behind Gary, and the questioning began again until once more the flight attendant had to instruct him to move to another seat. The incident so raised Gary's suspicions that he phoned his landlord back in Texas and asked her to keep a close watch on his apartment while he was away. When Gary arrived at his parents' home, he immediately called his closest friend, Mike, to tell him he was in town. But oddly, a puzzled Mike announced that he had already spoken with Gary on the phone the day before, saying, "What are you talking about? You told me you were coming to New York yesterday." He explained how Gary had told him he had just landed at LaGuardia Airport and that he was suffering from a cold, the sound of his voice seeming to bear that out. This convinced Mike that it was probably not a good idea to come and visit his old friend. Confused, Gary explained that he had not called Mike before arriving at his parents' home, and that he had actually flew into JFK Airport and was completely healthy. He suspected that perhaps someone was impersonating him as a practical joke, or perhaps some type of bizarre coincidence, but was equally certain he had told no one of his plans to travel. While the two friends tried to sort all of this out, another call came through, on call waiting. When Gary switched lines, he was met by a very deep and mechanically sounding voice that immediately launched into a bizarre and disturbing conversation, if one could even call it that. It was 10:30 p.m., and Gary decided to press record on the answering machine to document this highly unnerving call. This is the actual recording.
Yes. I'll tell you who it is.
Hello?
Yeah. Do you want to speak to him?
Is Gary's Sudbrink there?
Yeah, who's this? Steven? Are you playing games with me or what? Huh? Steven, if you're playing games, I'm going to kick your ass.
So how long are you going to be back from Texas?
Huh?
You're being impersonated by the other voice.
Yeah, this is you, Steven, you idiot. You're pissing me off. Jerk. I'm going to get you on... Let's see what it says. you. One new call out of area. Is Steven out of the area?
Are you going to be back from Texas?
Wait, say that again?
You're being impersonated by the other voice.
Wait, hold on. Is Steven out of the calling area or what?
What do I know?
What do you mean you don't know? He's in Queens.
Well, who are you talking to?
I don't know who the fuck.
Hello?
Hello?
Is Gary Sudbrink there?
Who is this? Sounds like a freaking robot.
Hello?
How long are you going to be back from Texas?
What was that again, sir?
You're being impersonated by the other voice.
Oh, be quiet, huh? Sorry, would you see that again? Hello? Being impersonated by what voice?
Hello?
Yeah. Hello?
Is Gary Sudbrink there?
Yeah, hold on a second. Yeah, what is your question? I'll answer it.
So how long are you going to be back from Texas?
How long?
You're being impersonated by the other voice.
Right. When am I coming back? Is that your question? Okay, there was a break. Hold on. You want to know when I'm coming back to Texas? Oh, is that your question?
So how long are you going to be back from Texas?
How long am I going to be back from Texas? That question doesn't make any sense.
By the other voice.
Okay. I'll be coming back eventually. I can't tell you when. You should know that question, the answer to the questions, because you seem to know more about me than I do. You know what I'm saying?
Are you an intergalactic person?
Are you a space alien?
Sounds like he hung up.
I can't believe this.
He hung up, Gary.
See if he comes back.
All right, I'll hang up.
At this point, Gary wasn't fully convinced this wasn't his older brother Steven playing a prank on him, but he later reflected on a strange incident that took place some years earlier. As Steven was driving to attend a wedding on Long Island, he saw Gary drive up next to him and begin making weird faces at him. When Steven finally acknowledged him and looked over, Gary just drove away. The bizarre thing was that although Gary was also in Long Island at the time, he didn't have his car with him as he had flown in for a visit. But when Steven described the car that had pulled up next to him, it was the same make and model Gary owned at that time. And that car was parked at his home in San Antonio. After the first call had ended, it was 11:10 p.m. when the phone rang again. Gary once again pressed the record button.
Yes, speaking. Yes. Could I answer any questions for you?
Are you back from Texas?
Not back yet, no.
How long are you going to be back from Texas?
Let me answer. First, you tell me, where are you calling from?
This is Gary Sudbrink.
Yeah, why don't you tell me where you're calling from?
Who is this?
What do you mean, who is this? You should know who it is. It's me, Gary. Wait, let me ask you this question. Where are you calling from? Okay, I'll be back. Excuse me? I can't hear too well. Yeah, it is a full moon out. That's true. Could you identify yourself? Identify yourself. Why are you calling me? Excuse me? I cannot hear too well.
Get on the other phone, it's better.
Hold on, let me switch phones. Okay. Okay, hold on. Now, who are you? Keep an eye in the sky, he said.
Keep an eye in the sky?
Yeah.
Ask him, can I talk to him? Had a sighting.
Okay, hold on. Say that, repeat that again. Please repeat. Okay. Near Orion.
Holy mackerel. Tonight or this one when?
The full moon.
They told
Double from here.
Repeat.
Tell him I like to talk to him.
Okay, repeat last word. I'm hearing static.
Tell him I like to talk to him.
He hung up.
He hung up.
Hello?
Then, approximately 20 minutes later, the still puzzled and unnerved Sudbrinks heard the phone ring once again.
Okay. Yeah, it's taking time for him to talk. Who is this? Stephen, this is not funny, you know.
Brian, it's not Steven.
What do you mean, Brian?
I mean, Gary.
How do I know it's not Stephen?
It's not Steven. Hello? I had a UFO experience in West Virginia, which you probably know. And I know that you're an intergalactic person. Can you speak a little louder? Sir? Can you speak a little louder? Louder?
Let me speak to him, Dad. I guess, I don't know. What...
All right, I'll hang up so you can talk to me. He wants to talk to you.
Okay. Hello, can I help you?
Hello.
Yes. Yes, that's me. Yes, could you please identify yourself? Identify. Yeah, I'm back. I'm in Texas right now. Oh, he asked me a question. No, I'm in New York right now. You know that. Why are you asking me such a question? Yes. Stephen, if this is you, I swear to God, I'm going to be pissed. Huh? I'm trying to listen to him. Excuse me? Okay. Eventually, I'll be back from Texas. Could you speak more? Please speak more. I guess it's not Stephen. I believe it because I'm getting static.
Stephen will not leave 3 times.
Let me go on this phone because I can never hear on this phone. Hold on. Okay. Okay, please speak. Hello?
Keep an eye on the sky.
Okay. Should I go out right now?
Right.
Right now?
The full moon.
Okay, see, I'm not sure where Orion is now, but we'll go outside.
Show double from here.
It would show double from me. Repeat that again?
The family was no doubt anxious, waiting for a follow-up call, but that was the end of them on this particular night. But at 10:21 p.m. the following night, the phone again rang, and the mystery caller was again on the other end. At this point, Gary's father and his Uncle Tom were also present and listened in on the call. Here is that recording.
Yes, this is me. Can I speak to you? Can I ask why you're... Yes, can I ask why you're calling? Can I please ask... Yes, this is. Yes, that is me. Say that again?
This planet.
Leave?
We come
I'm staying right here.
to be within this planet.
Is this a joke or what?
The many to be contacted as the same with you.
I have to think about that. I'd like to see you.
The many to be contacted as the same with you.
Hey, let me tell you something. I've been listening to you, and I've had contacts with you.
Government interference? You have? Please explain what type of interference. Okay.
Visitations to be disrupted by them. Appears. Sun will rise from dark side of world. No.
The sun will rise from the dark side of the moon.
Okay, what branch of the government? What should I do?
Beware. Government interference. Visitations to be disrupted by them.
Okay. Is that good for me or bad? They hung up.
Yeah.
Now that's a lot to unpack for certain, but there are a couple of things that we should clarify before we move on to the theories as to who or what contacted Gary Sudbrink. First, let's circle back to something alluded to during the phone calls by both Gary's father Bill and his uncle Tom. Apparently, they had a UFO experience driving back together from a vacation in West Virginia on May 28th of 1989. On the drive, they spotted a luminous object in the sky that appeared to follow them for a lengthy distance, and it so intrigued them that they pulled over and attempted to record the object on a video camera, which Bill managed to do, but only for a total of around 4 seconds. The video was subsequently given to optical physicist Bruce Maccabee, who analyzed the footage and gave his assessment in the May 1989 issue of the MUFON UFO Journal. In it, he claimed due to the short duration of the clip and the poor resolution, he was unable to distinguish it as a true UFO sighting from a possible camera artifact. The brothers went on to join the Long Island UFO Network and were subsequently a part of the group's South Haven Park UFO crash investigation in 1992. They would often visit the site looking for clues as to what had occurred there. So that brings us to theory number 1. Gary was contacted by an extraterrestrial intelligence, or one of the infamous Men in Black, who have been known to make similar calls and speak in a comparable monotone or robotic voice. It also wavers in loudness and clarity, which is also supposedly an MIB characteristic. The idea that Gary's father and uncle had a UFO encounter 4 years earlier might lend credence to that theory, save for the caller specifically asking for Gary, who had no such experience. There was also a 4-year delay in contact, which falls outside the typical MIB behavior, as they reportedly normally show up within days of a sighting. The final phone call that touches on everything from an alien visitation to a government cover-up also goes right to the heart of the common UFO conspiracy hypothesis. There is no real celestial revelations as to things to come, and in fact nothing happened to Gary or anyone else involved in the years that followed. However, the weird solicitations by men holding clipboards Gary encountered at the airport in Texas, the call made to his friend Mike claiming to be Gary that wasn't Gary, and the strange sighting of he and his car by his brother in New York, when the vehicle was still back in San Antonio, add yet another level of mystery to this theory. Which leads us to theory number 2. It was a prank call all along. Many have suggested this was actually a recording played on a loop, as there really is a lack of interaction between the voice and Gary when direct questions are asked of it. At times the messages are similar, with others displaying subtle variations. There are also 17, 17, 16, and 15 examples of the voice in each call, for an average of 16 for all 4. There have been some who are convinced Gary himself was in on the prank, all to mess around with his dad and uncle, who were both obsessed with the UFO phenomenon, with Gary just navigating through the pre-recorded messages and enlisting the help of perhaps Mike to pull it off. It should be noted that computer bots designed to activate in response to a human voice on the other end wasn't really a part of mainstream technology in the early 1990s. Many of us have fallen victim to weird phone calls with creepy voices and unsettling messages on the other end, as well as bizarre sequences of numbers that show up in caller ID. After all, who can forget the infamous 666 number that popped up some years ago? Amateur audiophiles analyzed the recordings by speeding them up, and some concluded that the voice on the other end was Gary's, but one independent analysis placed them at a 29% match, which means that them being the same voice was somewhat unlikely. The question is, if this wasn't a hoax, then why target the same person 3 times in the same night, and then again the following night? And why did the calls cease to come after that? The call is coming from inside the house. The calls were all around 3 minutes each, meaning each one had to be pre-recorded at some point, unless the caller had time to record them in the 20-minute span between each. But all that still doesn't wholly explain how the calls were made and a recording played, unless Gary had an accomplice. But he seems like a decent enough guy that perpetuating a hoax on his own father and then never coming clean about it seems out of character, to say nothing of downright cruel. We might never know where the strange calls to Gary Sudbrink originated from, whether you think this was a hoax or something literally out of this world. This extremely strange incident will remain a mystery.